Welcome to this tutorial on creating quizzes in Desire to Learn version 10.2. So the first thing we'll do is we're going to go in under the Assessments button, and if we go in under the third button here titled Quizzes, we'll be able to go in here and create a new quiz. So there's just this little blue button here that says New Quiz, and we can go in here. Now we can put in a name for this quiz, so maybe we can just title this Quiz 1. We have the ability to categorize our quizzes. So if, for example, we wanted to have a category for quizzes that we're going to be doing in the first term and quizzes we'll do in the second term of this course, you can go on and you can create a category titled first term quizzes and then put all the quizzes that you have within that category, and same for your second term, but we're just going to leave that as blank for now. Under the grade item, we can actually attach this to a grade item within the gradebook, or we can just select this add grade item. So maybe I'll select that in the name here. I'll just put Q1 so I know that it's quiz 1 when it shows up in the gradebook. And the same thing, we can put in a short name. If we wanted to, we could categorize our quizzes here within the gradebook. We can put in a short description if we want to. But what I want to do is I'm just going to go in here and points. So maybe this quiz is out of 100 points, but the weight of it towards the final mark is maybe only 40%. So the weight is the percentage that the item is worth towards the final mark, and the max points is how many points this individual quiz will be out of. You also have the ability here to check off the can exceed. So if I select this little question box here, it says select this option if you want to allow users' grades to exceed the maximum points specified for the item. So if you want to allow a student to get above the 100 points, then you can select that option. There's also a box here for bonus items. So if I select that, it says bonus items are not included in the maximum points for this category or final grade. They are added on top of the calculated grade. So bonus items can't make the user's grade exceed the maximum points specified unless the can exceed option is selected. So if you do want their grade to exceed the maximum points specified, you also have to select the can exceed plus the bonus if you want them to get above 100 out of 100 with the bonus question or bonus marks you would give. And then you just select your grade scheme here. If you want to, you can create a rubric or add a previously existed rubric. And there's some restrictions here. So this is just when you want to release this grade item to the students. So the default is that it's always available for them to see. You can hide the grade item, and then if you want to, come back into the grades area and release it to them whenever all the students have completed the quiz, or you can actually set a date in this area. So if you know when the quiz is going to be completed by all students, you can put a start date here as to when they would go on and be able to see their grade for this grade item, and you can also display it in the calendar here. So I'm just going to press the save button now, and you can see that it creates this grade item here titled Q1, the auto export to grades. So if I select that, it says here that when allow automatic export to grades is enabled, the system can send auto-graded attempt scores directly to the gradebook. This requires that a grade item is associated with the quiz, which it is. We just created the Q1 grade item. So if the allow attempt score to be seen immediately upon completion is not enabled, you must set attempts as marked in the grade quiz page to populate the gradebook with the attempt scores. Alright, so what it does is it'll automatically export the grades to the grades area, and the system will automatically grade for you any items, any questions, I guess, that it's able to grade, such as multiple choice, true and false. However, for some of the paragraph type questions or essay questions, obviously the system isn't able to grade that. So as the instructor, you would have to go on and do that grading. So the student view preview, so this is what the students would see. So we can actually edit the display options here, and we can override the display options. So right now they would see the points and the weight grade. So they would see their score out of 100, plus they would see a score out of, this quiz was worth 40%, so they would see their score out of 100 and out of 40. However, if I just check off that box, maybe I only want them to see that points grade here out of 100, so then I can just save that, and so they're only going to see the grade out of 100 now. And so if we scroll down, again, you can attach a rubric here to the actual quiz here. And then there's the automatic grade. So allow attempt to be set as graded immediately upon completion. So if this is checked off, so it says here, when the setting is turned on, users can see their score as soon as they submit their attempt. The score displayed is only what the system can auto-grade. So as I was saying before, they'll only see the score up to what the system can auto-grade. So if there's 50 multiple choice in a paragraph question, they would only see the results of those 50 multiple choice, because obviously you would have to go on and grade the paragraph question yourself. It says the setting must be turned on for the grades to be automatically sent to the gradebook and for the default submission view to be released when users when they complete an attempt. So we'll look at the submission view here in a few minutes. And then there's just some advanced properties here, some optionals. We can expand this. You can allow hints for questions. There's a notification email here. So what you can do is put in your email address if you want to receive an email every time a student completes a quiz. Disable right click. We actually encourage this because it doesn't allow the users to right click or control click on a Mac when taking a quiz, so it just kind of prevents them from cheating and printing or copying quiz questions. Also, the default here is to disable the pagers and the alerts, so that means their email is also disabled within Desire to Learn, so there's no way for them to communicate with other students within the course to do any cheating or exchange answers or anything. And messages here, you can actually provide some messages, and you can turn them on, a description of the quiz. You can do an introduction that the students would see just before they take the quiz. There's a page header and a footer. So the page header and the footer would display for the students. The page header obviously would show at the very top of the page, and the footer would appear at the bottom of the page. So you could put something in the header like, don't forget to take your time and answer each question carefully, and then the page footer could just be a reminder for the students to save all the questions. So something like, please don't forget to save all of your questions. And the page header and the footer will display on every page that the student has questions on. So for example, if you have 5 questions per page and there's 20 questions, well, on all 4 of those pages, the header and the footer will be displayed. And then you can press the save button. We're actually not going to press save and close, because what we want to do now is we want to go in under the restrictions area. So under the restrictions area, this is where we make the quiz active or inactive. Right now it's seen as inactive because we don't have any questions added to it. You can also set dates and times where the quiz is available. So the start date would be when the students can actually click on the quiz and enter into it, and the end date is when they can no longer access it. You can display it in the calendar. And then if we just scroll down, there's some additional release conditions, like you can create and attach release conditions, such as you have to complete something else in the course, such as another quiz, or hand in another assignment to see this quiz, or you have to be a part of a certain group. There's all different types of conditions you can attach. And then there's some advanced restrictions here. You can actually create a password for your quiz that the students will have to enter when taking it, or you can actually set an IP restriction, so they have to take it from a particular computer. There's a timing option here. So the time limit is how much time the students have to complete the quiz once they enter into it. So right here the default is 120 minutes, which would be 2 hours. There's also a grace period. And now there's this little area here on what to do with the late submissions. So this is very important. So this first option, allow normal submissions, it says users can always submit their quiz regardless of time limits. If the quiz is submitted after the time limit, no points are deducted. So what this means is, it means no matter how long the students take to do the quiz, it will allow them to still submit it. However, after the 120 minutes expire and the 5-minute grace period, it'll mark it as late. However, it'll always allow them to submit it. The second option, you can use a late limit. So what the late limit does is, if we set a late limit, for example, of 10 minutes, and we click this little question area here, it says users can always submit their quiz regardless of the set time limit. If the quiz is submitted after the time limit, which was 120 minutes, and the late limit, which is 10 minutes, so if they submit after 130 minutes, they'll receive a score of 0 on the quiz, and you can manually go in and grade this score if you feel the user deserves more than a 0. The late limit restriction only applies if the enforced checkbox is selected. So up here, there's this little enforce box here. So for the second option, if you want to use the late limit, you just have to make sure that this enforced area box here is checked off. Okay. Now the third option, auto submit attempt. If we select this, and this tends to be one of the more popular ones, so we'll press a little question bubble here. It says, after the time limit, 120 minutes, and the grace period, so we have it set right now as 5 minutes. After that, they expire. The quiz does not complete any action that the users try to perform, but prompts them to submit their quiz. So whatever they've done up to that point, it forces them to hand in their quiz. So if the user takes no action, the quiz shows as an attempt in progress in the quiz grading area. And then either they would have to go in and force submit it, or as the instructor, you can go in and submit it for them. And then it says here, to enable the auto submission, you must also select enforced. So again, if we want to use this third option here, the auto submit, we have to make sure that this enforce box is checked off. Okay, and there's also some advanced availability here. So the default is you can allow selected users special access to the quiz. So what special access is if a student isn't able to take the quiz during the dates that you set above, you can give that student, if they have a valid excuse, special access to take the quiz outside of the dates that you set. The second option here makes it so that this quiz is only available to users who are given the special access. So the second one requires you to actually go in and add the users to the special access that you want to see and take the quiz. However, the default is that it's open to everyone, and if you want to allow users special access, you can. Okay, so now we're going to go under the attempts. So this is how many attempts that the students have to take the quiz. So the default is 1. You can allow unlimited attempts. You can allow maybe 1 to 10. But we'll just leave 1. And then the overall grade calculation. So you can pick the highest attempt out of all of their attempts, the lowest, the average of all the attempts, the first attempt, or the last attempt. But for this demonstration, we're just going to allow the students to have 1 attempt, and we'll take their highest attempt. You can go in, and there's some objectives as well. Associate any learning objectives or rubrics. Or sorry, not rubrics. Just learning objectives or outcomes. And the submission views. So this one is very important. This is what the students see after they hand in their quiz. So as of right now, the default view is that they don't see any of the questions, statistics, none of that. So they submit their quiz and they never see it again. They're not able to go on and review it. So as the instructor, you can go in under the submission views and we can change what they see. So if I click on this default view, we can go in and just scroll down here, so show questions. So if you want, you can show the questions of the quiz. So after the student submits their quiz, they can go on and review the questions. You can show the questions answered incorrectly, so it would just show them the ones that they got incorrect. You can show the questions answered correctly, so they would only see the ones they got correct. Show all questions without user responses, so it would just show them basically all the questions that were in the quiz, but not how they responded to each question. Show all questions with user responses. So this would show them every single question within the quiz and how they responded. And you can show the question score and out of score. You can show the question answers. So if you want, you can check that off and it'll show them the answers to all the questions. There's the score here, so it shows the attempt score and overall attempt score. You can actually show the class average as well, so the students can see how they stacked up against the rest of the class. And you can show them as well the score distribution, so that they can see a breakdown of how every student in the course scored. Now their names or IDs would not be attached to these grades. It would just be basically an overall breakdown of all the grades, so that as a student I can go on and see how I did compared to the rest of the class. But the most popular option is just to say yes, they can go on and review the quiz, to show all the questions with the user responses and to show the question score and the out of score. And then if we press save here, now we can see that immediately after completing the quiz, the student will be able to go on and they'll see all the questions and they'll see how they responded and the correct response. And then the last little stage of this is we can go in under the layouts and the questions, and we can add questions to the quiz. So when we're ready to add our questions, we just press this add edit questions. Now we can create our questions in here. We can create new sections or random sections or create questions in here. But what we recommend is that you go in under the question library. So if you just go in under the quizzes button and you select the question library tab, you can go on and create all your questions in the question library. And that's kind of what we recommend, because this allows you to share those questions amongst other classes if you want to. And so what I've done is I've previously gone on and created questions in the question library. So I'm just going to press this import button. And I'm going to import questions from an existing collection. And we're going to go under the question library, for example, and I can go in here, and under the collection root it'll show me here these two questions that I've created previously. So I can select this to select both of those questions, and if I press save, what it'll do is it'll add these two questions here to the quiz 1 area. And so I can just press over on the right hand corner, there's this done editing question, so I'm all done. So perfect, it brings me back into the layout questions area, and I see the two questions here that I have for the quiz, and that one's a multiple choice and one is a true false. So now when I'm ready, I can go in under the restrictions tab here, and I can make my quiz active. So now it's available for the students to go on and take. And so under the properties area here, I can just go on and so if I go in under this little edit quiz button, quiz 1, I can go in here and actually preview the attempt, so I can go on and take the quiz exactly as a student would. So this is where you would go on to start your quiz. So we can press this little start quiz here, and it would take us through the quiz as a student would. The final thing I'll show you here with the quizzes is that after the students handed in their quizzes and have taken them, you can go in under the assessments button and just go in under quizzes. And finally, we see this quiz 1 that we just created here. So if I click on this little action menu next to it, I can go in under this grade option. And so the grade option brings me in here, and I can see users who have completed an attempt. I can just filter by all users here. And so I'll just press this little magnifying glass. So what it does is it'll show me every student that's currently enrolled in the course, and we'll be able to see their attempts as they go on and complete their quiz. So if you ever want to see any of the students' attempts or review any of their attempts, this is the area where you would go to do that. So this concludes the tutorial on creating quizzes within Desire to Learn version 10.2.